Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I have my friend Judy here, and today we are going to talk about going from a 25% sales percentage to a 300% sales percentage, which, if that doesn't even make sense to you, you are not the only one. Judy, we've known each other for how long now?
A really, really long time.
So
Like back in
Zoe's
your baby emerge sales training
I
days.
know. So Zoe is 13. She was probably like 5 or 6 when
Yep.
we first met. You switched companies since then. We started working together recently, and you were having a problem with your closing percentage.
Yeah.
So could you share a little bit about what were some of the problems you were having when you were meeting with potential customers and like them actually buying stuff?
Yeah. Well, I was really struggling because I would get appointments and I would meet with people and go over what they were looking for. And then I would share with them what I had and, try to give them a solution for what they wanted. And it was like, they wanted it, but they weren't like ready to close. And there was something missing. And it was just a real struggle. And then I'd go like 4 or 5 appointments and one would buy. And it was like, yeah. But there was like, why didn't the other ones buy? So I was really frustrated over that.
What did you think would be the impact to your business if you did not fix this problem?
I really felt like I was getting burned out, because I didn't want to keep going in that cycle where I had to see 5 people to sell one. I mean, that's a lot of work and it was
Mhm.
struggle. It
Yeah, and
wasn't,
how is that impacting the builders on your team? You had a few at the time, right?
yeah, it was really hard because it's funny though, because they watch you and they kind of emulate what you do. And if I saw 5, they were only seeing 2. So their closing percentages were even more frustrating for
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So then we went through your conversation, presentation, whatever you want to call it. And what were the things that you remember we noticed that were the things that were tricky, that were kind of messing it up? I
Well,
don't know
I
if that's
know,
the best way to say it.
I had always known I needed a sales script. And so I had a script and I was using it, but we noticed that some of the stuff was out of order first. Like I was putting the cart before the horse. And so I needed to change and put more focus on their needs up front. I was missing that. And then after that portion, one of the things we noticed too is that it was really good. But then when I got down to the offer, it was just, this was it. And it was kind
Here
of like,
is the
well,
one
that's it.
offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in hindsight, okay, so this is something that we notice a lot. First, a lot of people don't have scripts. So I want to say some people are watching this and saying, 1 out of 4, Judy. I'm 1 out of 10, which is the industry average. And so, first, kudos to you to knowing you needed a script and an outline. I think a lot of people, they'll start off their whole thing with, here's all the good stuff. And by the way, what's going on with you? And it always takes me back to that Theodore Roosevelt quote, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
Except most people's sales outlines or product explanation or whatever word makes everyone feel comfortable about what this is are flipped. Here's how much I know and then how much I care. And we need to start with how much I care versus how much I know. So I'm sure you remember it now. Do you know what you changed it to? Like what do you actually say
Well, now it's
at the
really different
beginning?
because, yeah, I start with people finding out what they're looking for. And I ask them more questions about them personally. And when they start giving me all the answers, about the third question in, all of a sudden, I don't want to make it sound like they're spilling their guts, but they're really telling me what they want me to give them. And it was really helpful because then when I went into explaining what I had, I could always tie it back into something they had asked for. And when
Mhm.
that happened, they were going, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And it was like they didn't even realize they had just told me that was what they were looking for. So it was a really good feeling because I felt like I wasn't selling them. I was providing them what they were looking for because I had it.
Yeah, well, right, and that's
Yeah.
probably the most frustrating thing is when you talk to someone and they're like, "Here's the problem," you match the solution, and they're like, "No, let me think about it." It is infuriating, and I think a lot of people run into that. What were actually some of the questions that you ask people, just so that people can get something tangible from this?
Oh, I just asked him, I said, the one thing that I found that was really fun because when you get on a call, the first thing is always, what inspired you to book this call today? And then I just went right into giving them suggestive answers. Is it because you're frustrated with all the supplements you take? Do you have a health concern you're trying to work with? Do you have health goals that you're looking at this year? What is it that really inspires you right now? And then,
Oh, I love that. That's so good. I hope all of you got that. That's brilliant, and you'd start the call with that, and then you
every
go into
time I hold up my script and I make sure that I read it because sometimes, after 100 times you think, oh, I got it. And then I'd notice I was slipping. So now, no, it's taped right here in front of wherever my workstation is. And I make sure I focus on this as the phone is ringing.
yeah, sometimes your workstation's in a coffee shop,
Yeah,
sometimes you're in New York
I
City.
just take it with me.
Yeah, you like to travel. Okay, so now let's talk about the end. So most people, when they try to fix their sales conversation, they're like, what do I need to say about the product? So we did a little bit of that, but really we
Yeah,
focused on the beginning and the end because it's your first impression and then it's the invitation to action.
yeah,
So you have a product line where there is only one option to buy.
yeah.
So what was the problem with that? In hindsight, of course.
Well, in hindsight, it was like, oh, well, okay, that's it. Let me think about it. It was like there was nothing to compare it to or nothing. They don't have a choice. And people like choices. I mean, I always tried to make it a flavor choice, and that worked okay. But when I knew up front if they had a spouse or, if they were on their own or whatever, or I'd get them talking and they'd say, oh, something like, oh, yeah, my sister and I have been looking at this, or, my wife was interested in this too. Then I would get down to the end and I'd say, well, now that you know this is well within your budget, there, why not have both of you do it? There's nothing better than doing it with a friend, and they'll
Mhm.
go, "Oh, can I do that? Can I get it for both of us? You know what? I can set it up for you."
So you started making 2 sales instead of, so you went from 1 out of 4 sales
Yeah.
to making 2 sales on 1 appointment. So would you be able to share, like, any sort of actuals? Like, out of 10 appointments, now how many sales do you make?
Okay, so
And it doesn't have to be 100%, like, we're not
no, no,
trying
no,
to
no,
make
no.
it.
But if you and I'm real liberal with my appointments because sometimes they don't show up. So of the ones that show up,
Yeah,
let's say 5 people show up, I would say uh, probably would get 7 sales.
7 sales. So 300% was, like, some appointments are 300. So what is that? 5 appointments divided by 7. Hold on.
You do the math. I don't have a calculator.
No, it's
And
7 divided
that's
by
like,
5.
and one or two of those people would say, I mean, oh my God, I so want this. I'm going to save up for it. Can I get it in 2 weeks? And that would include those people in that grouping. And they'll come back around in a couple of weeks because they wanted it. But of the ones
Yeah.
that actually bought, that's the numbers.
So 140% closing percentage. So if you are out there and you're frustrated because network marketers don't make money, because no one buys, because it's so hard to make a sale, Judy, what would you say to encourage those people?
You know, the obvious, of course, which everybody says, they don't call it network marketing for nothing. treat it like a job, treat it like your profession. It's not a hobby. Have a certain amount of appointments that you're going to set every week. Show up, be prepared, and have an outline. Use an outline. There's nothing wrong with having an outline on how to present to your customers. I think that takes away so much of the nervousness,
Mhm.
that most new people have. And if I can sit here and say, okay, I covered this, I covered that. Oh, and then I could say, oh, by the way, do you do da 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 da? And just having those little notes to be able to chat with people, even if it's in person. I have note cards or I have a PowerPoint cheat sheet, and I just go along with it. Now, it doesn't mean that I script it and I do it verbatim, because everything is personal.
Mhm.
So I take whatever they want to share with me and I make sure that I weave it back throughout the entire presentation, tying everything back to them, because they want to know what's in it for me. And at the end of the day, if it's for them, the only obvious answer is, okay, I want to use my Visa, not my MasterCard.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's so good. And when we talked about selling 2 kits instead of 1, it was a little bit of a mind blown moment. Do you wanna, like
I was
so
like, "What do you mean? How there's no way." I'm all like, 2 instead of 1, and you're like, "I wanna challenge you to that." And that
so
was
can
the
I
moment.
give them just a little context, and then I wanna hear your thoughts. So,
Yeah.
the context is, in the science of selling, there's a book called The Science of Selling, but just the concept of the science of selling. The highest percentage is if you give 3 options, with 1 being a decoy. One that's like out of bounds. They're like, no, I don't, that is dumb. I'm going to choose one of these other 2. So choice of 3, slightly less than that, but still very, very good as choice of 2, because the choice of 3 is technically a choice of 2 because you're having them eliminate. And then choice of 1 has a 10% compliance rate. Is it any surprise that people struggle when they're right? Like, everybody wants choices. They don't want to feel backed into a corner. So what happens to everyone when you're like, here's your problem, here's your solution, do you want to do the solution? They feel backed into a corner. They feel like they're being told what to do. Now, everyone will say, I want you to tell me what to do, but then when you tell them what to do, they do not want to do what you, just by nature of our desire to be independent. And so the concept was always at the end offer a choice of 2. So you get to the end, and you're like, would you like option A or would you like option B? Which is best for your family? You didn't have an option A or option B. And so what I posed to you was, could option A be 1 and option B be 2? So can you explain your response to that ludicrous idea?
Yeah, I'm, like, sitting there looking at it, I go, "No, why would you buy 2? You wouldn't buy 2." And I sat there for a minute and I thought about it, and it was like, well, if you're married, you'd buy 2. If you have kids that are over 18, you'd buy 2. You'd buy 3. And it was like, it just might work. I'm game to try anything. If you don't try something new, how do you know the possibilities? I think the one that totally blew me away, the first time I did
Oh,
the
I was going to
double.
ask you to tell the story of
Yeah,
the.
the first time I did the double, it was like, it was just like, well, yeah, I'm going to do for my wife too. Does she have to be here? I said, no. Do you have all her information? No, we can just do it right now over the phone. So we did 2. And I told Tasha, I go, it worked. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. Then the next time I went to present it, it was an ex-husband who had wanted the wife and the son to do it. And her new husband was on the phone. And her and her new husband were on the phone and we were talking about it. She goes, this is totally what we're looking for. Absolutely. Oh, I want to get everybody tested. I said, okay, so are we going to do you, your son, your husband, and your ex-husband? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, let's start with you. I couldn't even flinch because the inside was just screaming, but the outside was
You
like,
did
okay, well, let's
4.
start with you. Well, it was going to be 4, but unfortunately, she did not have the ex-husbands information. So I actually connected with him later on down the road and got his.
It's the same
So,
thing.
but it was the same thing. He was the one who initially connected me with her to get this started. So I knew he was a done deal. But I'm sitting there, we did all three of them, the husband, the wife, the oldest son. And she's all like, okay, how fast can we get it? And it was just like, I put it on UPS Direct. It'll be at your doorstep in about 5 to 10 days. And she's like, great.
I feel like you told me this one of this husband that was on, and then you said, well, and it's probably easier if you and your wife do it together. And I guess he was on speaker, and the lady was yelling, like, you better get me one of those. If you
That was
don't,
another one. Yeah.
and then
I've
I
done
think
this
she
multiple times.
yelled at him and was like, and for my mom too. And that was the one that I remembered where she was, and this is the thing that I want to, why we're telling these additional stories is for us, or for you all, or in your case, Judie, we limit what people will buy based on our own perspective, fear of rejection,
Yeah.
trying to do things right. And we like business is about being creative and innovative. And if we took our issues out of, right, it's like, I'm just going to be safe. I'm just going to offer them this. And if they get this, then I'll be happy. And we take a step back and we're like, wait a second, if you're in health and wellness is a community activity. It makes absolutely not helpful to the person if they are the only one in their entire community that is engaging in a health and wellness solution because they will mirror the health of the people around them. So if you want to actually help that person in front of you, you have to offer it to everybody around them and open up your mind to think, obviously, it's like joining the gym. You would never join alone.
Yeah.
Right. And now it becomes obviously it's going to be you, your wife, and your mom if she lives there.
Yeah.
And it changes the business because they see you as a like that you really care for them and their community. And obviously you can revolutionize the business. So what outcomes have you seen happen in your business since you made these adjustments maybe about 2 or 3 months ago?
Well, obviously, I have more time and less stress. And I have really happy people because, like you said, the ones that are doing it in groups or in combinations are really engaging in talking about their results back and forth with each other and getting on these like little mini texts with me and saying, well, my wife did this, but I like this. Is that okay? And so there's a lot more support going on like that, which is really improving my overall customer base, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
That's, part of it. You got to help build the customers first, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to ask you a little bit of a self-serving question.
Okay.
So you've taken, I think, all of our courses over the past 7 years.
Yep.
And right now, you're in the Resilient Leader Mastermind, and you're in the small group version. So we actually
Yeah.
meet a small group of between 4 and 7 people every week. How has, and you bought a couple one-on-one sessions.
Yep.
So how has all the coaching that you've been through, how's that helped you to like be your best self?
I've done a lot of coaching over the years, paid a lot of money for coaching. And the end game is always to find a coach that resonates with you, that you can connect with. Because if you think you can do it on your own, more power to you. But you can get there so much faster with a coach. And that's what I'm seeing. I am more focused. I have more clarity. I don't play squirrel anymore. Like the dog, squirrel, squirrel, oh, squirrel, over here, over there. I felt like I was doing a lot of that. And God bless Karen for reaching out to me and saying, come back into the fold. And that was the moment that everything connected and things got on track for me. And it's just, there's endless possibilities right now in the growth of my business because I really have clarity now.
Cool. I love that. Well, we're
Yeah.
so happy to have you and be able to see you all the time.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts for the people out there before we wrap up?
Yeah, if you have fear, it's a good thing. just bring it and get it addressed and do the things that scare you, because then you'll find out they're really not that scary. And if you really truly want your business to grow, get in a community like this that's supportive, because it'll really help you skyrocket your business. Yeah.
Judie, thank you so much for sharing all the secrets. And I hope everyone that's watching this or listening to this, I hope this has been encouraging and helpful. And again, thank you so much.